وأنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي أحدكم الموت فيقول رب لولا مقاليد السماوات والأرض والذين كفروا بآيات الله أولئك هم الخاسرون قل أفغير الله تأمروني أعبد أيها الجاهلون ولقد أوحي إليك وإلى الذين من قبلك لئن أشركت ليحبطن عملك ولتكونن من الخاسرين بل الله فاعبد وكن من الشاكرين وما قدر الله حق قدره والأرض جميعا قبضته يوم القيامة والسماوات مطويات بيمينه سبحانه وتعالى عما يشركون ونفخ في الصور فصعق من في السماوات ومن في الأرض إلا من شاء الله ثم نفخ فيه أخرى فإذا هم قيام ينظرون وأشرقت الأرض بنور ربها ووضع الكتاب وجيء بالنبيين والشهداء وقضي بينهم بالحق وهم لا يظلمون ووفيت كل نفس ما عملت وهو أعلم بما يفعلون وسيق الذين كفروا إلى جهنم زمرا حتى إذا جاءوها فتحت أبوابها وقال لهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم رسل منكم يتلون عليكم آيات ربكم وينذرونكم لقاء يومكم هذا قالوا بلى ولكن حقت كلمة العذاب على الكافرين قيل ادخلوا أبواب جهنم خالدين فيها فبئس مثوى المتكبرين وسيق الذين اتقوا ربهم إلى الجنة زمرا حتى إذا جاءوها وفتحت أبوابها وقال لهم خزنتها سلام عليكم طبتم فادخلوها خالدين وقالوا الحمد لله الذي صدقنا وعده وأورثنا الأرض نتبوأ من الجنة حيث نشاء فنعم أجر العاملين وترى الملائكة حافين من حول العرش يسبحون بحمد ربهم وقضي بينهم بالحق وقيل الحمد لله رب العالمين. صلى الله عليه وسلم.
وين هاي ما شاء الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Respected elders, bearers of the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, students of knowledge, my uncles and aunties, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I have had the pleasure of going through many difficulties in my life. Alhamdulillah, I have had the pleasure of going through many challenges in my life. But to date, the most difficult time I ever went through was right here in the state of Washington. A few years back, I was invited to a Muslim camp. And mashallah, tabarakallah, it was a wonderful time. The most beautiful time I had. Loads of fun. At nighttime, it was on one of these islands out here. At nighttime, I would take the opportunity and go sit on the shore. Sit on the beach, enjoy the cold, wet air. Thank you. And sit alone with my thoughts, alone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, admiring the power through His creation, watching as the waves crash, listening to the sound of the night. And I would do this every single night. On my last night there, I found myself a spot. I was sitting and there was some commotion in the background. I look over and some young brothers, they broke out of camp. They're past curfew and they're out and about. They have their own adventure. They walked past me one time, walked past me the second time, didn't see me, and finally on the way back in, they noticed me. The look on their faces was priceless. We chit-chatted for a moment, and then they took off. All except for one of them. Now this student, this young man, he noticed what I was doing. He was the quiet one. He sat down next to me, didn't say a word to me. And he joined me in what I was doing. But as I was sitting there looking at Allah's creation, I started to feel that this young man, he is trying to reach out to me some kind of way. He wants to talk to me. I could almost place words. What are his thoughts? So I lean over, a penny for your thoughts. He looked confused. I said, what are you thinking, young man? What's on your mind? Talk to me. He sat for a few more moments, trying to weigh his words, how he can attack this problem that he has. And then he hit me. And when I say he hit me, I mean he hit me. Why do we have to pray 5 times a day? Why can't I just believe? Isn't it enough that if I'm just a good guy, that I make it to heaven? Why do we have so many titles? Now it was my turn to be silent. I was numb from the questions. As he started to ask the questions, it started to rain a little bit. It's a little chilly out. But I didn't even feel the raindrops at all. I actually couldn't hear the waves crashing anymore. And the only sound that I heard was the loud booms of my heart matching the rhythm of the raindrops falling on my face. I was stuck. But I told myself I need to stand up, and I couldn't move my legs. Finally, somehow, I found the strength I planted my feet, and Bismillah, I stood up, and I said, come on, man, let's go for a walk. And this young brother and I walked up and down this coast, him listening attentively to every word I'm saying, his heart open, me scared to death that one word I may say might tip the scale, or I might lose this person forever. At the end of it all, you know how young people are, you never know what they're thinking. He just looked at me with a dry mouth, thanks, and he walked off. Now as I see him walking back to camp, I'm stuck still. I'm watching this young man walk back. It's raining, it's cold, still don't feel a thing. And I feel like I ran a marathon, lifted some weights, did 10 rounds in a boxing ring. I am exhausted. I couldn't sleep that night. I told myself, the next morning I'm going to locate this child, I'm going to find who his family are, and we're going to have a serious talk. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The next morning, he was gone before I had a chance to do anything. And the years passed, and I always thought about this young man. I always thought to myself, I wonder what happened to that child that I don't even know his name. And I prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had used me at that moment as an instrument for something good. You see, Islam is a beautiful thing. And being a Muslim here in America especially is a blessing that many of us don't recognize. Being Muslim in America today, you're going to fall on your face time and again. But when you fall on your face, you make sure you stand back up, you dust yourself off, you wipe the dirt off your face, and you stand your ground and you continue to be a Muslim. I love this masjid that now I am a part of. I love it with all my heart. The first day that the masjid opened, I walk up in the masjid, I'm excited, it's a new adventure. SubhanAllah, I just moved to the neighborhood. And of course, my beloved Sheikh Abdullah, doing the thing that he's always doing, teaching Quran. He's sitting in the corner reading with the brother that was down on the beach with me. And I said, Alhamdulillah, one more person, he's all right. He made it past us. I'm not going to take too much time, inshallah, because time is short. And I'm going to introduce the next brother that's coming up. You know, when I was going to school and reading about, the Salihin, the righteous predecessors, you would read about stories of people who would be in the marketplace and they would see one of these Salihin passing by and they would remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This next brother is one such brother to me. He is the president now, alhamdulillah, of ICOPS. I introduce you, inshallah, to our president of ICOPS, Sheikh Lamin.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. One more time. Alhamdulillah, the brother has given us a very beautiful speech. A speech that is meant to move us and then at least give us some perspective of what we might have once gone through or have once seen. So tonight, alhamdulillah, is one of those stories that we are here to mention to the Muslim brothers and sisters, to our parents here as well, and our young ones. As we all know, alhamdulillah, most of us in this room here tonight come from Muslim countries with solid Islamic background, where we are always constantly be reminded about the call to the Salah, which is the Adhan. But when we come to this country, it's not always the case that we are in such surroundings when we have the opportunity to go to Masjid for Salah. We may live maybe some meters from the masjid. Unless we are inside the masjid during time of Salah, we may never hear the Adhan being called. So Alhamdulillah, when we came here back in the late 90s into the mid 2000s, we realized, as Brother Ahmed has been mentioning, that we Muslims in this country, we have actually come to stay despite thinking otherwise. And we started having children in this nation, and those children are the future of this ummah of Muslims. So for this very reason, this is why ICOPS, like any other masjid, came into being. So, to make a long story short, for the sake of time, the brothers in the community looked at the situation where we live in Seattle. Then we realized that with the growing community of Muslims and the places that are available to us do not match. So we thought that we need to do something also, just as the previous people who started these other masajids. You know, any masjid we walk into today to go pray, to take our kids to learn the Quran, whether we realize it or not, somebody took the initiative to establish that place. And you know, not to mention names, we have some suyukh among us here who are imams of masajids. They know what I'm talking about. So, for the continuity of our society of Muslims, we came together, we put heads together and decided that it was about time for us also to try to at least identify a place that we could use for ibadah, that is for salah. And then we started with a small group of people, and then we formed a board from those number of people, even though we were a small number of people. So that board took it upon itself to organize itself and then made consultation with the members of the community, going from door to door, knocking on people's doors, telling them what they thought was the right course to take. That is, to try to establish a center for the Muslims in the Seattle area. You know, Alhamdulillah, we have masajids in the community. When we look at the distance between those masajids, you realize that we do not have enough of them. So this was the reason why the board of ICOPS and the ICOPS community decided that it was time to look for a location. And Alhamdulillah, we started that venture in 2012. And ever since, it has been an uphill battle, but Alhamdulillah, with the help of Allah, and then by the support of the society, of the community, Alhamdulillah, we have taken some steps that is actually very visible today. So a brief history about ICOPS is what this is about. But the major improvement actually that is tangible came in 2018. By 2018, ICOPS has already been solid in its efforts to establish a location. And we approached several places that were put out for sale to purchase them and use them. But unfortunately, the conditions surrounding all those previous locations that were spotted were not favorable to us. So, but alhamdulillah, we moved into a location in Lincoln Way and Highway 99 in 2014. And the effort was, at least instead of operating in the name of an organization, especially an Islamic organization, to be operating just by a name, and there is nothing that could be identified or associated with you, was not something that people are ready to buy into. So, alhamdulillah, back in 2014, that's why we engaged the community, we raised some funds, and then we were able to rent a temporary space in Makechi. And that temporary space, alhamdulillah, was very handy as it was able to serve the purpose of the daily prayers, the 5 daily prayers, and also Taraweeh, and also we used to have kids coming to school there on weekends. Alhamdulillah, the owner of that location was a Muslim, is a Muslim actually, but in 2018, he made it clear to us that he no longer wanted us to be there because he needed to use this space. And we had to exit from that location. And since moving out from there in 2018, it was a very difficult time for the organization, even though we kept working as hard or even harder than previously. But for the fact that there was nothing that we could account for, and people could not see anything. Developer who knew or heard that there is a Muslim community in the area who is looking for a location. And then having dealt with a Muslim organization, they reached out to us and then told us that they have a property on Highway 99, which is our current location. And then they said they were ready to do business with us. And alhamdulillah, by the help of Allah, they gave us the location as a rent to lease to become our property. It is not a bank, it is not a loan that we are dealing with. Alhamdulillah, anytime Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give an opportunity to have a property in this country, and then He prevents and protects you from paying interest on it, that in itself is a blessing from Allah. So, alhamdulillah, throughout 2018, we were working to develop that location. But due to the city requirements, the county requirements, for permitting and stuff, we were held for a very long time. So even though we continued to work in the background, but alhamdulillah, finally, in December of last year, the county approved everything and they gave us all the permits and they gave us the occupancy to be able to use the location. So this is where we are today. Alhamdulillah.
I mean, where we were, where we are, inshallah, where we're heading. Why did I tell you that story about that young man? I told you that story so you can reflect upon the importance of having these masajid in this locale. The importance of having a base for our young children to come to and learn about their deen and know their ways. Because, face it, the reality of it is, this is a digital era. All information is in the palm of their hands. And parents now have a harder time than they have ever had in history. So, this is the reality of it. And with this being the case, we have our mashayikh who are doing their part in raising these children. We're entrusting them. This next brother, mashallah, man, this is one brother I'm always jealous of. Every masjid I go to, I see this brother sit down, reading the Quran and teaching somebody else. He's the best of us. خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. You want to listen to some Qalun? Come on through. You want to listen to some Wash? Come on through. You want house? We got that too. Sheikh Abdullah, come on up here, talk to these people. This topic of the day, وَسَارِعُوا. We need that tonight.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. My dear brothers and sisters, as a human being, before intending or planning to do anything, we think deeply and we take all the precautions so we can guarantee the consequences of our plan. And this kind of action was praised by the Prophet ﷺ when he told one of his companions that you have two characters that Allah likes them, at-tu'uddatu wal-hilm, without the forbearance and deliberation. However, when it comes to the matter of akhirah, Muslim, we commanded to do our best and rush them. And the Prophet ﷺ says, التؤدة في كل شيء إلا عمل الآخرة, which means slow, careful progress in everything except the matters of akhirah. And from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, we can read in many locations that Allah and His Messenger ﷺ urge us to race and hasten when we intend or plan to do good deeds. Allah says, فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ, hasten toward all that's good, like praying, fasting, paying zakah, performing hajj, and fulfilling the commandment of Allah, the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal and His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That haste also preferred when we seek Allah's forgiveness. Allah says, سَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ, hasten to forgiveness from your Lord and for a paradise as wide as the heaven and earth. And on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, بادروا بالأعمال فتنا كقطع الليل المظلم يصبح الرجل فيها مؤمنا ويمسي كافرا أو يمسي مؤمنا ويصبح كافرا يبيع دينه بعرض من الدنيا. Hasten to do good deeds before there come tribulations like peace of dark nights. When a man will be a believer in the morning and a kafir by the evening, or he will be a believer in the evening and kafir by the morning, selling his religion commitment for the worldly gain. This hadith urges every one of us to rush doing good deeds before the calamities befall us, because at that time the fitan will interfere between us and doing good deeds, and if we haste to do them, we will be protected, inshallah. Allah made hasting toward all that's good is the reason for the good deeds to be accepted and earning His blessing. And He mentioned in Surah Al-Anbiya the hasten of the Prophet alayhim salam, and the reason for accepting their dua, they used to hasten to do good deeds. إنهم كانوا يسارعون في الخيرات ويدعوننا رغبا ورهبا وكانوا لنا خاشعين. They used to hasten to good deeds and supplicate us in hope and fear, and they were to us humbly submissive. And he mentioned the conditions of Musa alayhi salam when he says, وَعَجِلْتُ إِلَيْكَ رَبِّ لِتَرْضَى, and I hasten to you, O my Lord, that you might be pleased. My dear brothers and sisters, those who hasten to do good deed in this life, they will be in hereafter the foremost, earning the Jannah in the highest level. And Allah Azza wa Jal honored the Muhajirin and the Ansar because they were ahead of everyone, supporting the Prophet ﷺ and defending this religion. When he mentioned them in the Quran, وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُم بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ وَأَعَدَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي تَحْتَهَا الْأَنْهَارُ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا. And the foremost to embrace Islam of Muhajirin and Ansar, and those who followed them exactly, Allah is well pleased with them as they are well pleased with Him. Therefore, those who rush to obey Allah this life and are foremost in performing acts of righteousness will be among foremost believer honored in hereafter. وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ فِي جَنَّاتِ النَّعِيمِ. And those, the foremost will be the foremost, will be the nearest to Allah in the garden of delight. And as we know, the best example of this ummah is our Prophet ﷺ. And he used to rush to do all the good deeds, and he was ahead of everyone. And there's a hadith mentioned by Uqba ibn al-Harith radiyallahu anhu, when he says, صليت وراء النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بالمدينة العصر فسلم ثم قام مسرعا فتخطى رقاب الناس إلى بعض حجر نسائه ففزع الناس من سرعته فخرج عليهم فرأى أنهم قد عجبوا من سرعته قال ذكرت شيئا من تبر عندنا فكرهت أن يحبسني فأمرت بقسمته. والتبر هو قطع من الذهب أو الفضة. The Uqba ibn al-Harith mentioned, he said, once I performed the Asr prayer in the Medina behind the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He got up quickly after finishing the prayer with taslim, and stepping over the people, went to one of the rooms of his wives. The people were startled at his haste, and when he came back and saw their astonishment at his urgency, he said, I remembered a piece of gold lying in my house, and I didn't like it to divert my intention from Allah's worship, so I have ordered to be distributed for charity. This is the condition of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we know from the seerah how the action of the Sahaba. Whenever they've been asked to do good deeds, they were ahead of everyone. Like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, and Umar ibn al-Khattab, and Uthman ibn Affan, and Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. One time, when Abdul Rahman ibn Auf was ready to welcome his caravan, the Medina gets shaken from the caravan that Abdul Rahman ibn Auf had for his business. And when the Prophet ﷺ heard that, he said, يَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ حَبْوًا, he will enter the Jannah crowning. So he sold all that, he donated all the caravan for sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and he said, I will enter the Jannah walking. They were feared their business, their money, their wealth, they will be held accountable for everything before Allah Azza wa Jalla. Because as we know from the hadith, none of us will step forward in the hereafter till he or she will be asked about what he earns and where he spent it. This is the message and the urge for every one of us to support and to do their best supporting ICAPS, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Abdullah Wasario. Inshallah, we are going to give you a few videos, testimonials, video, inshallah. Enjoy.
Call for help. Who knows most about it? Call for help.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Fancy cars, the big house, the new couch, the latest phone. We just need. We need to change the perspective of how we think to be selfish. If you want to be selfish, think about مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يُقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. If Bill Gates walked through here and he was working, if you were working for these guys at Amazon, he said, yo man, I need to borrow $100 from you now, and I'll get back to you later. You pull out your entire wallet. You give them your car, your house, and everything else. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guaranteed you the everlasting life. Chef Fadl, come on up here. Should I lock the doors? Do I need to lock the doors? We got some good bouncers. Inshallah, Chef Fadl needs no introduction. The first time I met Chef Fadl, he doesn't remember this. Some years back. He looked at me, Assalamu alaikum, on passing. What are you doing for the society? What are you doing for your community? I said, brother, take it easy on me. I just met you. Yeah, Fadl, love for the sake of Allah.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على رسول محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذا أردنا أن نهلك قرية أمرنا متر فيها ففسقوا فيها فحق عليهم القول فدمرنا تدميرا. صدق الله العظيم. Respected elders, friends, brothers and sisters in Islam, all praise are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, our nourisher, our sustainer, for having blessed us with this beautiful deen of Islam, creating us in the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah has gathered us here tonight for a great purpose, a great objective, a great action and amal that is beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and which was the foremost practice of the beloved Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, led by example. And that objective is that tonight here, how we can establish, alhamdulillah, ICOPS is established in a manner that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes happy with us. The burden that is on the committee of ICOPS, that Allah Ta'ala is testing them now. This is the house of Allah. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His unseen treasures will provide for His unseen needs. Inshallah. But Allah has gathered us here tonight to be a part of that. وَافْعَلُوا الْخَيْرِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. You heard the Sheikh reading, you heard the Sheikh the advice, your brother also mentioning that this is, we have to hasten towards that. Allah has given us that opportunity. Allah wants to see how much we are going forward, inshallah. So tonight, alhamdulillah, we have to make this resolution that, Ya Allah, we are giving for your house. That house that will be a means for our future progeny, future generation. Like that sister said, she was inspired by the dream. She came, she found a masjid. Imagine a locality that has no masjid, is devoid of the mercy of Allah, the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah's mercy descends on any locality. When the mercy of Allah Ta'ala comes, it goes to the inhabitants of the masjid first. Allah looks at the people of the masjid. When Allah wants to destroy any community, then He makes them use their resources, their finances, their money and their wealth in the wrong way. But when Allah wants to bless a community, when Allah wants to lift a community, when Allah wants to elevate a community, when Allah wants to make a community successful, then Allah will inspire them to use their wealth, their resources, and in a manner that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the resources of Abu Bakr, Allah wanted to be happy with him. All his resources was given for Allah. Allah became happy with him. And he was happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine Allah sending an angel, Jibreel, and telling Rasulullah, "Oh Rasulullah, ya Rasulullah, tell Abu Bakr Allah is happy with him." Is he happy with Allah? Why? Because he gave everything for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every dime and dirham that he had, he was prepared to give it for Allah. And he showed it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Muslims at the time of Tabuk. As you know, when Umar radiallahu anhu thought this is one moment, this is one occasion where I will outdo Abu Bakr. Because Abu Bakr had been surpassing us in everything. This is one night, one opportunity, one moment where I will outdo him. And then he came with whatever he came. And he thought he brought a lot. And Rasulullah asked him, "Ya Umar, what did you leave behind?" He said, "Ya Rasulullah, I brought half and I left half behind. Half the wealth, half of all my wealth I brought, and half I left behind." Alhamdulillah, mashallah, he was very happy. When Abu Bakr came, it wasn't much. When he placed it in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Ya Rasulullah asked him, Ya Abu Bakr, what did you leave behind?" He said, "I left Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam behind." In other words, he left everything behind. It is mentioned in the riwayah that he even was feeding the walls of his house, that even if there is a nail there that can be used in the path of Allah at the time of Tabuk, I will take that also. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. Allahu Akbar. Imagine what comfort he must be in that grave of his. Subhanallah. Lying next to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Subhanallah. What fragrance Allah must be giving him in that grave of his, the fragrance of Jannah. Al-Qabr, Rawdatun min Riyadil Jannah, or Hufratun min Hufratil Nar, or kama qala sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The grave that we are going to, inevitable. We are all going to go there. We have to make that a garden for us, or it can become a pit of hell. It will become a garden, inshallah, when we will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we will give for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, our salah is there, our fasting is there, our tilawah is there, our hajj and umrah. But when we are living this world, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us in the Quran, and He's telling us, this is what you will say at the time of death. When death approaches, every malakul maut comes to each and every one of us and takes our soul. The only thing we will want to go back to the world and do is not to see our beloved ones, not to see the beloved children, or to see that business of mine, or to once more go and sleep in the comfortable bed of mine, or to go into the luxurious home of mine, or to drive that beautiful car of mine, or to wear those nice beautiful clothes, designer clothes that I had bought. No, for us sadaqah. Ya Allah, one more chance, one more moment, one more opportunity, Ya Allah, send me back. For us sadaqah. Then I can give sadaqah, I can make you happy, you can become pleased with me, and you can include me from the righteous. Allah has brought us here tonight. Don't look at the crowd, don't look at the size, don't look at the quantity. It is the quality that Allah Ta'ala wants to see it. Our brothers, our ICOP brothers are in a difficult situation. 100,000 has to be raised by the end of, has to be paid by the end of this month. Has to be paid by the end of this month. And 100,000, today people are buying cars for over 100,000. People are, buying homes for over $1 million. That home that we're going to leave behind, that car that we're going to turn into dust, that those designer clothes that we are going to leave behind, just going to go in 3 pieces of cloth for men, 5 pieces of cloth for the lady. What are we going to take? You just heard, Ya laytani qaddamtu li hayati. If only I could have sent for the life. What is the real life? The life of the year after. That is eternal life. Alladhi khalaq al-mawt wal-hayat. Allah created death and hayat, life. That life is forever and ever. If you want a life of peace, a life of security, a life of comfort, subhanAllah, where we will get the fragrance of Jannah, where we will be given the water to drink from the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was our beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he came to Medina, he didn't build his home. He didn't build a mansion for him, nor for his daughter Fatima. He didn't leave those things behind. The first thing that he was worried and concerned, the house of Allah, where Allah's name could be raised, Allah's name could be taken, where people could come and understand and recognize Allah, where the kitab of Allah could be taught, and he taught it himself. After that he prepared jama'ah of people to teach others that came also. This is the masjid icons. This is the vision, subhanAllah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought us here, so that those things could prevail, could be preserved, inshallah, till for, not only for our progenies, inshallah. When we will make Allah happy, Allah will look after progenies of 7 generations. إذا أودعت رضيت وإذا رضيت باركت وليس ببركة النهاية. When I'm obeyed, then I become happy. And when I become happy, I bless. And my blessings will reach 7 generations of yours. وإذا عصيت غضبت وإذا غضبت لعنت فقد بلغت لعنتي إلى سابعة غلد. But when I'm disobeyed, I become displeased. And when I become displeased, and then I curse. And my curse can reach 7 generations also. We want the blessings of Allah. Allah has sent us here tonight. Allah has brought us here tonight. Like I said, 100,000 is required tonight. I want to see that who is the first person who would say, I will give $10,000 for the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that Allah can make my akhirah easy for me. Because that is a reality. We are going to the akhirah. First person to say, I give $10,000 inshallah. Allah bless him in his iman, in the wealth. Allah will, وَمَا تُنْفِقُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ فَهُوَ يُخْلِفُ. This is the words of Allah. Allah, وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا. Who can be more truthful than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And who can be more truthful than our beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Uqsimu, I take qasam that sadaqah will never decrease your wealth. Rather, Allah will put barakah in there, inshallah. Who's the first person to say, I give $10,000 inshallah? Inshallah, first one, $10,000 inshallah. Who is the first brother or sister who say, I will give $10,000 inshallah? Anybody out there inshallah? $10,000 inshallah. For the house of Allah subhanahu, Allah will give it back to us multiple times. 10 times minimum in this world, Allah can give 70 times, 700 times, 7,000 times. There is no limit to the treasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If all mankind, all human beings from the time of Adam alayhi salam, right till the end, they all had to stand on one place and ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whatever they want to ask, in whatever language you want to ask. This will not diminish from the treasures of Allah. It's like how a bird takes a drop from the ocean. That makes no difference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why our beloved Nabi sallallahu, that is why they were so attracted to Rasulullah in his generosity. That a man came, he said, Ya Muhammad, give me. Rasulullah told him, you see all that you see between those 2 mountains, take it and go. He goes back to his people, he said, oh my people, accept Islam, for I come from a man who doesn't fear poverty. Allah will not make us paupers. Allah will not throw us into poverty if we give for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. $10,000, who's the first one? $10,000. I know we may have given before. Subhanallah, Allah did not destroy us. Allah will give us more inshallah. $10,000 inshallah, anyone? Going inshallah? $10,000 inshallah? Any family that say, for my family I will give $10,000. I take as a responsibility, I will get $10,000 from my family inshallah. Who is the first one inshallah? Anybody say $10,000 inshallah? $10,000 going once inshallah? $10,000 inshallah for this beautiful house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every person that comes and pray, Allah is going to reward us. Every child that comes and read Quran, Allah is going to reward us. Every child that memorizes the Quran, Allah is going to reward us. when we will be resurrected on the day of Qiyamah, when Allah will mention all the bounties He's conferred upon us. And when Allah will show us the registers, these are the amount of Hajj you perform, these are the amount of Umrah you perform, this is the amount of Quran you have recited, this is the amount of Quran that you have memorized, and this is, say, Ya Allah, but I did not do all this. I didn't get the opportunity. I performed only one Hajj and only one Umrah, and very rarely would I ever finish the Quran during the year, maybe once or twice. He said, Ya Allah, where did all this? He said, because of your contribution. That so and so child or so many children memorized Quran and they taught others, and those children taught others, and it carried on to the day of Qiyamah. Subhanallah, Ya laytani qaddamtu li hayati. Why didn't I give more and more so that I could get more and more? Allah will say, you see this, you gave $10,000, this is your Jannah. But had you given $20,000, that is what you would have gotten. Then you will say that, why did I give 20? Too late, we cannot do. إِذَا مَاتَ إِبْنُ آدَمْ إِنْقَطَعَ عَمَلُهُ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. Ibn Adam, when he dies, all his action comes to him. Sadaqah. Sadaqah, perpetual, continuous charity. When we are in our qabr, Allah will bless us. Allah will bless us when we are in our qabr for that little bit, that 10,000 that we gave for the house of Allah. It is not much. Our homes are so much, 500, 600,000. I don't know what the estate, real estate in London, I'm sure must be 500,000, 600,000 also. So, 10,000, what is that? Our cars are 50, 60,000. Imagine a young boy. When we're not connected to the masjid, when we are not connected to the masjid the way we're supposed to be connected, it's not like this, like the sister said, no, Friday to Friday, not only Friday to Friday. It is a regular thing. Imagine, you might not have heard of it, or you may have heard a young boy in our community. Last year, father bought him a $100,000 car. $100,000 car. And what? He only used to go for Fridays. What did he go for? For Salah or to show off his car? Allah alone knows. And the signs were there. The parents were worried that this guy, there's something wrong with him. One day they came home and they found him in the garage hanging. A rope around his neck. Gone. Young man, young boy like him. $5,000 anybody inshallah? $5,000 inshallah? Allah reward you brothers and sisters. $5,000 inshallah. $5,000 inshallah. $5,000 inshallah. $5,000 bring once inshallah. $5,000 bring once inshallah. Anybody $5,000 inshallah? $5,000 bring twice inshallah. $5,000, take the opportunity. Take the opportunity now. Inshallah. لا يستوي القائمون من غير أولي الضرر والمجاهدون في سبيل الله. Those that strive in the path of Allah and those that, those that came before the Fatih Makkah, لا يستوي من أنفق قبل الفتح. You can never equal those that spent before Fatih Makkah. Before Fatih Makkah. And those that spent after Fatih Makkah, many of them gave lots, big amount. But they cannot even equal that little bit that the Sahaba gave before at that time. Even if you were to spend, then you get him out of here and make him speak outside. Chef, ask him to speak outside. Those that spend, that even if you were to spend mountains of gold, you will never equal that one little bit that the Sahaba spent at that time. That was the time. Let us give for the pleasure of Allah. 5,000 inshallah, going once, twice, 5,000, third time, nobody? No problem inshallah. Allah will make it easy inshallah. Let's see, 2,500, who's the first person inshallah? We have one, Jazakallah khair. Allah Ta'ala reward you and your family, Allah protect you inshallah. Allah Ta'ala make the means for all khair inshallah. Allah make the means of our ending Jannah without hisab. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala make the means of sadaqah jariyah. Right there. There. Right, yeah, you got it? Okay, Jazakallah. 2,500 inshallah. Second one at 2,500. Barakallah, Jazakallah khair. Second one at 2,500 inshallah. Who's the second one at 2,500 inshallah? Allah reward you brothers inshallah. Any of the sisters inshallah 2,500 inshallah? Any family 2,500 inshallah? Come on brothers, 2,500 inshallah. Allah reward you inshallah. $2,500 inshallah. $2,500 inshallah. Second one is, who's the second one at 2,500 inshallah? Allah reward you inshallah. $2,500 inshallah. MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair, Allahu Akbar. Come, inshallah. It's coming in the heart. Then it comes, inshallah. Shaitan will say, الشيطان يعيدكم الفقر ويأمركم بالفحشاء. Shaitan will say, no, you have to pay for this, you have to pay for that, you got this bill, you got that bill. Those bills will be taken care of. Allah will take care of all those bills. Let's take care of Allah in the house of Allah. Allah will take care of everything else, inshallah. Come on, brother. Second one at 2,500. Second one at 2,500 each. Second one at 2,500. Who's the second one at 2,500, inshallah? Allah Akbar. Allah reward you, brothers. Second one at 2,500. Second one at 2,500. Anybody there? 2,500. Second one, inshallah, going once. 2,500 going once. 2,500 going twice. 2,500 going twice, inshallah. Come on, brothers, inshallah. $2,500, inshallah. 25 too much? Can you get 2,000, inshallah? First one at 2,000, inshallah. Anybody get $2,000? You can talk to the brothers, give you 180 every month, 150 every month. Inshallah, or make it up, inshallah. 200 every month, inshallah. Allah will make it easy, inshallah. If you give 200 every month, 2,400, subhanallah. 2,400 for the whole year, subhanallah. Brothers from ICOM, you can talk to them, inshallah. Allah will make it easy. 2,000, inshallah. $2,000, inshallah. Who's the first one at 2,000, inshallah? Any brother or sister, inshallah, $2,000? Subhanallah. Come, my brothers. Take this opportunity. Ya ayyuhan nas, uzkuru ni'matallahi alaykum. O mankind, reflect and remember the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us. $2,000, subhanallah. Imagine Allah. We have one at 2,000? One at 2,000? Jazakallah khair. We have another one at 2,000. We have one in the back there. We have number 2 there, $2,000. We have the first one at 2,000. We have one here, brother. There, the chair. You got one? MashaAllah. Jazakallah. So we have 2 at 2,000, inshallah. Who's the third one at 2,000, inshallah? Who's the third one at 2,000, inshallah? Who's the third one, inshallah? Third one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised him with, Allah resurrected him with Uthman radiallahu anhu. Uthman ibn Affan. Imagine till today, you go to Medina Munawwara, you go to the bank, there is an account of Uthman ibn Affan. You know that? Imagine the Sadaqah Jariyah. All the Masaki, all the poor people. Up to today, the account is still running, subhanAllah. Looking after many of the Masaki in Medina Munawwara. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, how many years have passed since he left this world? At the time of Tabuk, he gave 1,000 camels, 1,000, second time, another 1,000 dirhams, 1,000 dinars. Rasulullah even said that after today, even Uthman doesn't do anything, it's sufficient for him. But no, he always kept on giving. For deen, he gave. For others, he gave. On himself, he was very stingy. On himself, he was very stingy. One day somebody came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and he wanted something. He said, go to Uthman. As he approached the house, Uthman is reprimanding his wife. That why did you have to use such expensive oil in the rent? Couldn't use cheap oil? That extra money you could have given it to someone. The person heard this and he was walking away. Uthman heard the footsteps. He said, you came for something? He said, yeah, Rasulullah sent me, but I heard this conversation between you and the wife. I thought I'm not there. He said, that is a different matter. That is our personal life. What do you want? What do you need? You take everything, whatever you need. Subhanallah. That was Uthman. Uthman and Ghani, that's why you should call him. Uthman, the self-sufficient, the generous one. Uthman ibn Affan, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Subhanallah. Who was stabbed while reading the Quran. Can you believe? How much taqwa they had, how much fear they had. They knew they were going to that year, the light of the year. That's why when they came to Umar, when they sent his daughter, Fatima, tell Umar to raise his standards a little bit. He's too hard on himself. He's too hard on himself. He said, the father, we have a lot of wealth. Why don't you raise your standard a little bit? Wear better clothes, eat better food. People came to Medina, they could not eat the food of Abu Bakr, of Umar. It was so dry and so hard, so coarse. Today, mashallah, we're going to have villages now, right? How many coarse meals we have? And we don't think, subhanallah. They could not eat the food of Umar. When Umar went to visit Abu Darda, there in Sham, when he sent as a governor, Umar could not eat the food of Abu Darda. Imagine our pious people, he said, what they left behind. That's what they left behind, subhanAllah. So Umar, when after he heard his daughter, he said, what are you talking about? You know my two companions? They have gone on their journey, and they have surpassed, and they have become successful. If I turn away from the path that they showed and they left behind, I will not reach the destination that they will need, that they have reached already. I want to reach that destination. They gave for Allah, they gave for the deen of Allah, they gave for the benefit of the Muslim. Allah will give them enough, again and again and yeah. We give for Allah now, Allah will give us again and again. 2,000 inshallah. Who's the third one inshallah? 2,000 inshallah. Who's the third one inshallah? Who's the third one and 2,000 inshallah? Anybody there inshallah? 2,000 inshallah? $2,000 inshallah? $2,000, anybody there inshallah? $1,500 inshallah? First one is $1,500 inshallah? First one is $1,500. Wallahi, respected brothers and sisters, appreciate this masjid now. Today we had the groundbreaking for the Islamic Center of East Side. After 3 years and 11 days after the fire, finally all the permits and everything have been granted. Now we spoke to the contract. Imagine 3 years and 15 months, 3 years and 11 days. The masjid that was part of your listing for so many years, that was like a house to us. Overnight, matter of minutes, just gone in flames. You know what a feeling it is? We don't want this place to close. Where are our children going to go? Where are we going to go? This is the house of Allah. Let us give for the house of Allah. $1,500. Who's the first one, inshallah? $1,500, inshallah. $1,500, inshallah. Allah reward you, Allah bless you, inshallah. Allah reward you, Allah bless you. $1,500, inshallah. Anybody there? $1,500 going once? $1,500 going twice? $1,500. Anybody wants to take this sharaf, this honor of saying I gave $1,500 when nobody else gave, inshallah? Come my brother, $1,500. I was thinking of giving 1,000, but I think I can manage 1,500. Inshallah, 1,500. Inshallah, anybody there? 1,500, inshallah. Allah reward you, brothers and sisters. Inshallah. Can I get 30 people to say I'll give $1,000? Who's the first one at 1,000? Inshallah. Come, let's start 1,000, inshallah. Who's the first? We have one. Jazakallah khair. Allah bless you and your family. Second one is 1,000, inshallah. Second one, we have another one. Jazakallah khair. Brother Nameem, mashallah. 1,000. We have a sister there. Jazakallah khair. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the sister, the family members, everybody, inshallah. Allah protect their respect, honor, dignity, their izzah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all fitas, inshallah. Allah ta'ala make it a means of entering to Jannah easy, inshallah. Hisab yasir, Allah make it a hisab yasir in the year after, inshallah. We have 3 at 2,000. This is the fourth one is 1,000, inshallah. Fourth one is $1,000, inshallah. Fourth one is $1,000, inshallah. Come, my brothers. Who's the fourth one is 1,000, inshallah. Any other sister want to compete with the sister there, inshallah? $1,000, inshallah. $1,000, any of the other brothers? 1,000, come my brothers. Now we are going down, inshallah. Much easier now. We started at 10, we have gone down, subhanallah. $1,000, inshallah. Come my brothers and sisters, inshallah. Allah reward you, inshallah. Allah put barakah. We have 1,000, anybody 1,000, inshallah? $1,000, inshallah. Come my brothers, inshallah. I need more. If I can't get 30, at least we need to reach 10, inshallah. We have 3 at 1,000, inshallah. I need a fourth one in 1,000. You have 1,000? MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair, mashallah. Allah bless you and your children and your family, inshallah. Allah protect your children, the iman of your children, inshallah. Allah make them the coolers of your eyes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep them in good health. Allah protect them from all trials and calamities. Allah preserve their iman. We are living in times very, very important. We make efforts to see that the iman of our children progeny is preserved. Wallahi, very difficult times. Very, very tough time, challenging time for our youth and for our children, inshallah. 4 at 1,000. Who's the fourth one at 1,000, inshallah? Fourth one at 1,000, inshallah. 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 Come my brother, inshallah. Fourth one at 1,000, inshallah. Like I mentioned, Allah will you hibbul with. Allah is all, He likes odd numbers, inshallah. Give me one more at 5,000, inshallah. 5,000 you work. One more at 1,000, sorry. One more at 1,000 can make it 5, inshallah. One more at 1,000, inshallah. Come on, brothers, inshallah. Allah reward you, inshallah. $1,000, inshallah. $1,000. Coming in the mind, we are shy, we are worried. Don't worry, other projects, Allah will give us other projects also, inshallah. Let's give now $1,000, inshallah. $1,000, 1,000 inshallah. 1,000. I want the fourth one inshallah. Fourth one $1,000 inshallah. Come my brothers inshallah. Fourth one 1,000. Any sisters there inshallah? Fourth one 1,000 inshallah. Fourth one 1,000. Anybody there inshallah? MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair, Sayyid Hussein family, MashaAllah. Allah bless them, reward them, MashaAllah. Give one time, they gave again, alhamdulillah. We have 5,000 inshallah, Allahu Akbar. Can I get 10 people at 500 inshallah? Who's the first one at 500 inshallah? We have one, Jazakallah khair. Second one 500 inshallah, make dua for all. Second one at 500. We have number 2, MashaAllah, 500, Jazakallah khair. Number 3, 500 inshallah. Any of the sisters 500 inshallah? 500, right? We have another one 500, Jazakallah khair, MashaAllah, 3 at 500 inshallah. Fourth one at 500 inshallah. Fourth one at 500 inshallah. Come my brother inshallah. Fourth one at 500 inshallah. Who's the fourth one at 500? Fourth one at 500 inshallah. Allah reward you brothers and sisters inshallah. Allah put barakah in your health and your wealth inshallah. The youngsters also who just started new jobs, whatever it is, first time they graduate and stuff. Inshallah, Allah give for the pleasure of Allah, Allah will make everything easy. You just heard, فَسَنْ يَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. Allah will make things easy when you give for Allah. Come my brothers inshallah. Have faith, have conviction inshallah. Fourth one at we have 4, isn't it? We have 4. Allahu Akbar. What are we going to do now? The doors are locked, this is what they said. But on the other side they tell me I need to finish up. Time is running out. MashaAllah, all our time will come out. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Allah Ta'ala put barakah. Inshallah. Inshallah, Allah Ta'ala will give the funds before the end of this month, inshallah. I can assist you in any masjid. If you get permission from anywhere, I can come anytime. Any this thing, let me know, inshallah. Whether Isha Salah, Jummah, you might have to, before time, you have to make arrangements, inshallah. But alhamdulillah, whatever I get to your well, please let me know, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. How you guys doing tonight? Inshallah, I'm a spoken word artist, inshallah, and I like to get the crowd engaged. So inshallah, I expect each and every one of you guys to follow along and participate as well, okay? Is that all right? Can you guys do that? All right. All right. See, ever since I've been living the grind, I can't forget that I was given what's mine from the one who was there before the beginning of time. The most forgiving and kind, fulfilling mankind without ever instilling a fine. He didn't ask for a shilling or dime. He's the one that made sinning a crime. He knows everything that is hidden inside. The giver, he's giving and gives and provides. The ever-living, the eternally alive. Some of us have known this ever since our birth. He is who he is? The creator of the heavens and earth. That was really bad. That was awful, terrible. You guys have to do way better than that moving forward. Is that okay? All right. So, speaking about some of the things that the brother mentioned earlier about how a masjid can affect the lives of individuals. Me, myself, personally, I grew up in a masjid. I'm from Ohio, Columbus to be exact. And there's a masjid over there, it's called Masjid ibn Taymiyyah. I literally grew up there. My whole life was revolved around that. For 7 years of my life, every single day, my mother used to take me there. Whether I wanted to play with my friends were at the masjid. Well, if I wanted to get some food, there was food at the masjid. If I wanted to do something, it was at the house of Allah. And guess what? Wallahi, to this day, I would not be where I am without them. Of course, we all messed up, made our mistakes, subhanAllah. But the house of Allah is a place we can always return to for refuge from the evils of the world, subhanAllah. You go anywhere in the world, you see a place where Muslims are gathering, subhanAllah. A place where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being worshipped every single salah. And we need a place like this in our community. And you need a place like this in your community. And I hope that we understand this, and I hope we understand the value of this. So my first poem is a little bit about my life. I don't want to get into too much detail with it, inshallah, but it will give you a little bit of retrospective of what some of the things that I experienced. Unfortunately, it doesn't talk about a masjid in here. It doesn't talk about a masjid. I wrote this poem to present in front of a non-Muslim audience, but inshallah, there will be some form of benefit from it. Okay, so let me tell you about the story of a young man whose life you can't understand if you haven't walked in the same shoes. You see, he's from a nation where the world used to vacation, but then became a destination full of devastation. His family didn't want to raise him there, couldn't take even a little more, so they tried their best to find a way out of the civil war. The father left first, never could be seen again, or even heard on the phone. So the mother, at the age of 15, had to raise the young boy on her own. She moved them to a refugee camp, and they stayed there for a while, but she always knew that it was no place to raise a child. So she decided that she would do whatever it takes to get herself and her son all the way to the States. But it's crazy, wallahi. Just look at the pain of a mother. She left one war zone and came to another. She moved to a foreign land with no money in her pockets, moved from refugee camps just to move into the projects. So the young boy grew up in the belly of the beast, the streets, where dreams become deceased. He was searching for peace, but all he found was a peace. Started banging West Side when he was born in the East. And when he grew up, more of his circle started to decrease. Some got locked in a cell, and some put 6 feet deep. And when he couldn't fit in, and he tried to be the same, and he could never fit in. And he tried to be the same, and that's something he couldn't change. Man, even to his people, he became strange. He became more westernized, thinking that's progress. But it's nonsense if you lose your culture and your mother tongue in the process. And when he couldn't be like the rest, his self-esteem deflated, because he didn't understand he was everything they hated. Black, Muslim, and don't forget to add the immigrant. He could try his whole life and he would still be different. And maybe that's why they look down at him, because they can never truly understand his struggle. But it's easy to treat a man like an animal when he came from the jungle. So the young boy tried his best to succeed, but to him it seemed impossible, because every time he achieved, there came another obstacle. And how could we expect him to believe when no one sat him down to have a serious talk? Truth is, the only pops he's ever known was in a cereal box. So, but nonetheless, he tried his best, and he overcame everything by himself. Oh, no, don't forget about his queen that taught him to follow his deen and not to follow the green. This world is a nightmare, but still follow your dreams. He was her prince and she was his queen. She's the one that taught him what true loyalty means. And that's why I compare him to Simba. Because you see, here's the thing. He had to overcome those scars in order to become the king. And that's why that young boy did the most with the little that he had. And now he shines bright like the star in the middle of his flag. Inshallah. So. Inshallah. So this next poem I perform in front of every Muslim audience that I am in front of, because it is a reminder of our situation no matter where we are. Unfortunately, everywhere we look around the world, Muslims are being oppressed. Muslims are going through trials and tribulations. You look in Xinjiang, you see what's happening over there. You look at Kashmir. You look at the U.S., of all places, subhanAllah. We look around the world and we see what's going on. We see what's happening with the Muslims in France. We see what's happening with the Muslims in Myanmar. We see what's happening with the Muslims all across the globe. And it is a constant struggle that we are continuing. Since I haven't heard a time when the Muslims weren't being oppressed. I haven't, since my life began. So inshallah, I want to remind you guys that just because we are being oppressed, just because we are going through these trials and tribulations, it should not make us falter in any way. We are meant to be strong in every case, inshallah. No matter what happens, at the end of the day, it is important for us to be unapologetically Muslim. We wear our thobes, we wear our kufis, we wear our hijab, we wear our abaya, we wear whatever that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed upon us. We wear it to the best of our ability. People, sometimes they come out to me, they want to shake my hand and I cannot do it. But I do not say sorry for it. I don't. Because I'm not sorry, to be completely honest. Because my deen is my religion, I will hold firm to it no matter what. So inshallah, I will remind you guys that the importance of this. And this poem is called Unapologetically Muslim. And I wrote it around the time of the Chapel Hill shooting. If you guys know what that is, it's when the 3 young Muslims were gunned down inside of their own home by their neighbor because of a quote-unquote parking dispute. But we know what the reason. Bismillah. Let me ask you a question. When you see me, do you see aggression? That's your first impression? Nah, let me give you a lesson. I'm a victim of the worst oppression. Because everywhere I go, I'm guilty before I'm ever seen as innocent. The threat is always imminent, especially if you're black, Muslim, and an immigrant. So very often we have to tread with caution. One comment could leave us lying in a coffin. I guess that's why we and beggars have so much in common. Oh, you don't understand the analogy? To you, I'm betting it's strange, because you don't understand we're both begging for change. And they laugh at our names. Abdul, Abu Bakr, Bilqis, they laugh at our names and the fact that we abstain from running after fame and acclaim they claim, that we must be insane for not playing in their games. And it strains their brains. How can we refrain from drinking champagne and smoking Mary Jane, sniffing cocaine and pumping drugs into our veins? And they claim that we are inhumane, that we bomb trains and hijack planes, that all our kids are in gangs and all our marriages are arranged. One person does something wrong and our whole religion is to blame. And they complain that we're so strange. Some laugh at us because we're different, but we laugh at them because they're all the same. Who said that? Jazakumullah khair. We laugh at them because they're all the same. There we go. But everybody wants to be somebody. But we are, as an ummah, we are one body. If one part hurts, the whole body feels extreme pain. From a diseased brain to even a mere sprain. So I dream of the day where my brothers with names like Hakeem, Kareem, Ibrahim, and Hussein aren't seen and routinely screened and detained because they're running away from a mean and obscene regime and its reign. Can still hear their family screams, picturing scenes of them on screens getting slain. Machines piercing spleens, blood becoming streams because of the deen they proclaim. I ask the Supreme to intervene and help the miskin redeem their self-esteem. Once again, Ameen. And this world is a prison, a penitentiary for the believer. But for the kafir, it's just a century of leisure. They told me to listen. They said the Quran was fiction. They said go read a Bible. Guess what I asked? Which edition? If they can't handle the heat, I tell them get up out the kitchen. But hey, we got to understand our vision, the duty that we were given to call to the Quran and the prophetic traditions, because we are Muslims and Islam is our religion. I'm a Muslim and my religion is Islam. I try my best to follow the Sunnah, the way of the Quran. Assalamu alaikum.
Machines out there for those who have their credit cards with them on your way out. Completely 100, inshallah. And also we have the auto pay and everything else, inshallah. So see the brothers on the way out for those who have the credit cards. Jazakumullah khair, everybody, for coming out. I want to give a special thanks to the sisters that organized this, mashallah. Without them, we would have been lost. Everything went smooth. There's some dinner back there. We want you guys to enjoy it. Sorry to ask this, but we asked you to kind of hasten a little bit because we have a very short window. We have to eat and get out of here before.